Hello out there, all you adorable fluff butts. It's time for another rant, and this one is going to be a little short, but hopefully no less enjoyable. It's also not going to be as negative as the more recent ones, so yay. So, given that a lot of conventions have been cancelled this year, and a lot of virtual conventions have been attempted, I figured I'd put my 2 cents in on this phenomenon. Now, I've heard a lot of people speculating that furry conventions may never go back to the way they used to be, and honestly, I can sort of agree, for the foreseeable future at least. But I also don't believe that the virtual conventions we've been seeing pop up in places like VRChat are quite what the future holds either. See, from where I stand, I don't think conventions are going to stay gone forever, and it's because, while it might be more convenient for some to simply strap on a headset or boot up a program, nothing will ever quite compare to the experience of a real-world con. There is something to be said about the experience, and some of the things I'm about to mention aren't really going to appeal to everyone. Please try to remember that I'm going to be speaking subjectively here too. Now, for me, conventions are stressful, especially in the weeks leading up to one. Between packing, planning, and budgeting, to having to make and track reservations, and even coordinating the people who travel and room with my group, it can feel like I'm in charge of an olden-day caravan. Now, most people would probably think that this is a bad thing, but for me, it just adds to that moment of sheer bliss when I finally get settled in on day 0. Conventions are the place where I can be who I am freely, without fear of being called a freak or being asked a slew of increasingly uncomfortable questions. They're a place where I can let loose and enjoy life without feeling like people are judging me. It's such a liberating feeling knowing that I'm surrounded by thousands of people with whom I share such a weird and wonderful interest. Conventions are also where I get to see friends who I haven't seen in a year or more, and I know, we have things like Telegram and VRChat, but it can't compare to the warmth I feel from knowing they're right there with me, close enough to give them a big-ass fluffy hug. Now, for these next points, I'll have to admit that I'm a very scent-oriented individual. In fact, each of my senses ties into some method of memory retention for me, so it's no surprise that I have such vivid and fond memories of the conventions I attend. From the moment it begins, a convention is an intense week of sensory overload. From the tension and pain in my legs from so much walking, to the taste of overpriced convention foods, and even the roar of hundreds of conversations happening all at once. For all of the things that stand out to me, though, there's nothing quite like the smell of Febreze and various fursuit sprays desperately trying to mask the scent of upholstery foam and sweat. But while all of these things can be overwhelming beyond words, when you let yourself go and just become a part of it, it can be an intoxicating experience. One that, in my opinion, no computer program can accurately recreate. Now, there is a lot to be said about virtual conventions, don't get me wrong. It's amazing what our community has managed to put together in such a short amount of time, and it filled a void that we as a community so desperately needed in these dark times. They are a testament to our collective creativity and ingenuity, to be certain. But there is always going to be something missing from a virtual convention for those who have experienced its real-world counterpart. Now, where will these new and adventurous examples of our ingenuity be once the pandemic ends and conventions go back to normal? I honestly don't know, but I have a few theories and ideas. As I said before, there is indeed something to be said for the convenience of being able to enjoy a convention-style atmosphere from the comfort of your own home, and realistically, there are some people who, no matter how hard they try, may not be able to get to a convention in person. That's where I believe these virtual conventions will, eventually, be able to tie into their real-world counterparts. They may someday even allow that gap to be bridged in a sense. There's a lot we could do with equipment like webcams and monitors in a convention space if we really put our minds to it. And There will certainly be conventions that will, without a doubt, be exclusive to the virtual worlds. There are some who may even enjoy them more than the real thing. Either way, though, only time will tell. Personally, I think that the real-world conventions will always be a thing, because for some of us, there's nothing quite like the experience that it brings. I want to know what you think on the subject, though. So if you want to share your thoughts, leave a comment below. And that's it for this rant, though. So until next time, everyone, bye-bye.
Oh yeah, I want to show our patrons some love too because they're awesome. Their contributions help us to afford all the neat stuff we use to record. So thank you. And if you want to become a patron too, you can click the link down in the description. You'd really be helping the channel out, and you'd get a couple nifty goodies too. Anyways, if you made it this far in the video, then yay, you're amazing. By the way, subscribe. Please don't make a foxy beg.